Unfortunately, according to Vanguard, a lot of us are going to have a tough time retiring. And there's really two reports I want to go over. The first report starts with some good news, ends with some negative news, and then the second report digs in. So let's jump into that first report. It's called How America Saves. It's got some information about our retirement accounts, specifically our 401ks. The first piece of good news is that 45% of participants in 401ks that Vanguard manages increase our deferral rate, increased how much we as employees are putting in the 401k amounts. The other thing is that since the end of 2023 to year end 2024, the average account balances have gone up. Another thing, many of us are interested in Roth 401ks, and Roth 401ks are now a feature offered by almost 100%, 86% of the employers that Vanguard works with offers a Roth version of the account, and 18% of us are taking advantage of that. So that's the good news. Now there's some bad news, and the bad news has to do with things that we're all guilty of at least considering at one time in our lives. And 1 in 5 of us are actually guilty of doing this, which makes it harder for us to retire. Before I go in, I do want to thank this video sponsor. It's Chapter. Chapter provides free Medicare advice to people that call in. And I think we all need to have expert advice when we're initially signing up for Medicare, and then each year thereafter, just to make sure we have the right plans. And the reason I partnered with Chapter is because I believe they put their clients' interests first. They listen first. They hear what our concerns are, what our situation is, what we're looking for, and they use their expertise to help us make the best choice for us. Why do I feel that they do this? One, I had a chance to talk with their team. And two, I've gotten comments from my viewers, including ones like this. Chapter, pleasantly surprised. This person wrote, I called thinking they would just try to push hard on some Advantage plan. The guy did not. He actually said that original Medicare and a supplement were the best choices. Not sure how he, Chapter, makes any money off that advice, but their street cred sure goes up with me because I didn't get the expected car sales guy pitch. I don't want you to get the car sales guy pitch. I want you to deal with an expert that's going to tell you what's best for you with Medicare, and that's why I'm proud to partner with Chapter. Thank you, Chapter, again for sponsoring this video. Okay, now let's go back in for, unfortunately, what the bad news is, and that is more and more of us are taking loans or hardship withdrawals from our 401ks. In these can have a snowball effect and negatively impact our ability to retire. So let's look at this figure 104, which is the Vanguard percent of plans that are offering loans. What percent of us are taking loans? And 10% of us have taken one loan, 3% of us have taken two loans, and about 0.5% are taking 3 or more loans. So, and that number has gone up over time. But one of the things that concerns me is if we look at the income that people are earning, what percent of those people are taking loans? Take a look at this. Less than $15,000, it's 8%. I suspect that number is lower because at that level, few people are actually participating in the 401ks. But look at this here, $50,000 to $75,000, almost a third, 28% of plan participants making $50,000 to $75,000 have an outstanding loan, and the outstanding loan is $11,000. Then let's go to people making $100,000 to $150,000. It's 1 in 5 of us, and the loan balance goes up to $15,000. And then about 1 in 8 people making over $150,000 a year have an outstanding loan balance, and that average is almost $20,000. Okay, the next one is hardship withdrawals. Now, fortunately, these are a lower percentage, but you can see it's gone from 1.7% during 2020 to almost 5%, and that number has gone up every year. You can see here the reason that people we're taking hardship withdrawals. And fortunately, taking a loan to avoid foreclosure on the house, fortunately, that has gone down. That peaked out at almost 40%. It's down to 35%. But you can see here, hardship withdrawals, we can only take them for certain reasons. And some of those are tuition, purchase and repair of primary residence, medical expenses, and avoiding foreclosures. And you can see the two biggest ones, over 50% in aggregate, are for medical expenses and to avoid foreclosures. So if that's any of you, I wish you well. I'm sorry that you're in that situation. Okay, so that's how the positive report ends. Now I want to switch to the negative report and talk about another piece of this that's really a big component to being able to retire and preparing to retire. Before I do that, though, a big piece about being able to retire and prepare for retirement for ourselves is coming up with a financial plan. I encourage you to work with a fiduciary financial advisor. I know many people in my audience are not going to invest that money, invest the time. They just want to do it themselves for whatever reason. And if that's you, I urge you to use software designed for you as opposed to building your own financial plan in Excel or Google Sheets. A, it takes a lot of time, and B, you're likely to make a mistake. The software that I like is called Bolden, used to be called New Retirement. You can find Bolden using this QR code here or using the link in the description. I am an affiliate, so if you use that link, you'll be supporting the channel. It's super affordable. There's no reason to build a plan yourself. Okay, let's go on to Vanguard's report. Vanguard's report that is much more sounding the alarm about the challenges being able to retire. That's their report called The Vanguard Retirement Outlook, a national perspective on retirement readiness. And one of the main themes that Vanguard has here is the replacement income in retirement. There's a rule of thumb. I'm not a big fan of rules of thumb, but it says 70 to 80% of replacing our income. So Vanguard looks at this and then looks at people in different quintiles of income levels and says the people at the lowest area of spending are the ones that are going to have to replace more of their income because, frankly, their income, there's not a lot of discretionary spending at that level. And so they need to replace, Vanguard would say, 96% of their pre-retirement income, where people making more money don't need to replace as much. And that's making the assumption that their expenses have not kept up with the Joneses along the way. But you can see from the chart here, and then you can see in the next chart here what the gap is. And it's this gap that led me to title this article about, Vanguard says we'll never be able to retire. And it's this gap that we need to replace with our savings. And they're saying this gap exists even with our existing savings. So for people in the lower income level, they say they have 30% of their income that should be replaced, that they won't be able to replace it. That number goes down to 70% for people in the 70th percentile of income. And then for people in the 95th percentile, they do have enough in savings to afford that. So if that's you, one of the things to think about is how do you save more money? And that's why I made this video here about how to increase our savings. I hope you enjoy this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.